home seemed so big sometimes, including the burdens. Lucius slept on his side, facing away from me, and I pressed myself close to his back, feeling the coolness of his body. I shared that coolness, too, since he'd bitten me, sealing our fate and a decades-old pact that had decreed our marriage in the interest of stopping a war between our rival families. Pressing tighter against my husband, how weird that still sounded, I listened to his steady breathing, which always calmed me down when I got nervous. Lucius wasn't scared. He thrived on ruling the clans. That was what he'd been born and raised to do. Or did he worry sometimes? Lucius? I got up on one elbow and shook him gently, needing to see his dark eyes and hear his deep, reassuring voice. Lucius? Yes, he mumbled. He rolled onto his back and fumbled for me under the covers, which were expensive and stiff and made me miss the soft, worn-in flannel sheets on my bed in Pennsylvania. But how could a princess ask for flannel? Yes, Jessica? Resting my hand on his chest, I felt it rise and fall so slowly that I wondered if he had already fallen back asleep. But I couldn't help asking in a whisper so the guards outside our door wouldn't hear, "What does it mean if a vampire dreams about a steak?" Lucius didn't answer, and I realized he was definitely sleeping, probably exhausted from yet another day of struggling to unite our obstinate families, so I lay back down and nestled against him again. In response to the pressure of my body, he turned and pulled me close so I could feel the entire length of his powerful warrior's body against mine, like a shield at my back. High on top of that Romanian mountain, in the heart of a confusing castle that I supposedly governed, but where I still got lost in the twisted corridors, the night got very still. Even the crackling fire seemed to get quieter. After a few minutes of forcing myself to forget about the nightmare, I started to drift off to sleep again, when suddenly Lucius muttered, barely whispering, his breath chilly against my neck, "Betrayal." I stiffened in his arms. Was he answering my question, or caught up in his own dreams, his own nightmares? Even if it was the latter, that wasn't exactly comforting. Did my husband have disloyalty, treachery on his mind? And Lucius, like all vampires, put great stock in dreams. Betrayal. I said the word out loud, trying to make sure it was even what I'd heard him say. Betrayal. At the sound of my voice, which was soft but audible enough to break the profound mountaintop silence, Lucius, seeming to get restless, wrapped his strong, scarred arm tighter around me so I was trapped against his chest. I took his hand and tugged to give myself some space to breathe. He didn't let go, though, and I tried to move him again. Against my fingertips, I could feel another deep scar, an X on his palm that marked him as mine, cut into his flesh at our marriage ceremony, and his wedding band on his left hand, his dominant hand, the one he'd used to wield the stake when he'd held me in a very different way in that same castle not too many months before. Chapter 1. Antanasia. Of all the grim chambers in the Vladescu castle, not counting the subterranean dungeons, of course, the one that served as a courtroom had to be the worst. Like every other room above ground, this one had a fireplace with a blazing fire, but the flames seemed more hellish than cheerful. They cast scary, shifting shadows on the gray rock walls, and definitely didn't do much to warm up the stark decor, which consisted of a semicircle of benches for witnesses, a worn spot on the stone floor where the accused would stand, and a long table where I sat next to Lucius in a hard, straight-backed chair. The elders waited in similar seats on either side of us, all of the 10 older vampires sitting remarkably still. Shifting in my chair, I tried, and failed, to get more comfortable. I should sue the people who designed the My Little Pony crystal rainbow castle I played with in kindergarten. They led me to believe that castles were filled with rainbows and cupcakes and pastel pink furniture, not stone and fire and blood.